everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Today I'm going to be talking about how some musicals have lyrics that differ between countries. Sometimes when a musical goes to a different country, the lyrics in some of the songs are changed. Mostly it's when shows go to the UK from the US, and when that happens, most of the time the lyrics end up being US versus every other English-speaking country. So I'm going to talk about 3 different shows where this exact thing happened. So what they were originally, and then what they were changed to, and which ones I prefer. And I'm also going to be talking a bit about whether I think they needed to be changed. So first up we have My Fair Lady. And if you watched my video a few weeks back, you'll know that this is probably the catchiest musical of all time for me. Just checking all the songs and making the notes for this video had the song playing in my head over and over again. Just talking about them again puts the song in my head. But we're going to start with the beginning song, and that is Why Can't the English? And this is a very small one. It's right at the beginning when Higgins is imitating Eliza. In the original production on Broadway, the line is "Heavens, what a noise." And when they brought it to London, it became "Heavens, what a sound." Did it need to be changed? Maybe not. It's really not a change at all when you think about it. Which means it probably didn't need to happen, but at the same time, it doesn't matter at all that it did. And because it's one tiny word, I don't really have a preference. But when I think of the song, or I'm singing it to myself, I'll go with Noise. Next up is Show Me, which is probably my favourite song in the whole show. And for me, the change lines are interesting. The line was changed from "Don't talk of June, don't talk of fall, don't talk at all" to "Please don't implore, beg or beseech, don't make a speech." And this is why I find it interesting, because I prefer "please don't implore, beg or beseech" over "don't talk of June, don't talk of fall." But I love "don't talk at all" so much more than "don't make a speech." "Don't make a speech" is just kind of meh. But with "don't talk at all," it's like she's going, "Oh, for God's sake, shut up already." And I love that. So that's it for My Fair Lady. And now we're moving on to Hamilton, because I can't go a day without talking about Hamilton. In fact, here's a picture of the Hamilton tattoo I got earlier today. When Hamilton went to London, Lynn changed a few little lines here and there so it wasn't quite so America specific, for lack of a better word. The first one's in Take a Break, and it changed from "John Adams doesn't have a real job anyway" to "Vice President isn't a real job anyway." Now, courtesy of my American relatives, I had actually heard of John Adams before I listened to Hamilton. Insert "I know him" lyric here. But obviously most people outside of America probably haven't heard of him. So yes, I think this is a good change. Honestly, all the changes in Hamilton were good, in that it was a good idea to change them. The second one is a line in Room Where It Happens. In London they apparently sing "Have him over, propose it," while in America it's "I propose the Potomac." Yeah, what? The Potomac was the river right there next to Virginia where they placed Washington DC. But unlike John Adams, I had not heard of that before. So I had to look it up before I fully understood that. And before that, I misheard the lyric for a long time. In fact, I don't even know what I heard initially. Then the final one was in Your Obedient Servant, when "Weehawken, dawn, guns, drawn" just became "Jersey, dawn, guns, drawn." The Hamilton crazed fan in me says you might have been able to get away with not changing it. We learn in Blow Us All Away that Philip's duel is taking place in New Jersey. Everything is legal in New Jersey. And then in World Was Wide Enough, it's pointed out that they were in the same spot his son died. But still, it was better to change it. And maybe people could have made the connection, but you probably don't want to leave that to chance. So yes, I'd say Lynn did the right thing changing those lines in Hamilton. As for my favourites, obviously I haven't seen Hamilton, like I have with the other 2 shows, but the originals are hands down my favourite. And they always will be. I don't think hearing the changed lyrics when I finally see it will change that, because I'm almost certain we're going to get the changed lyrics when it comes down here. We always do. When My Fair Lady came down here, there was a lot of talk about how Julie wanted to make it as faithful to the original production as possible. And yet we got the London line in Show Me. And going in, I knew we would. We also got the English version for Legally Blonde, which is the final musical I'm going to talk about. And this one's also interesting because there are a ton of changes. And more than any of the others, I think some of them were pretty unnecessary. The first one is in What You Want. In America they sing, "Harvard, I'm the girl for you, and to prove it's true, we all flew here on JetBlue." In London the line is, "Harvard, it's your lucky day, we've come all this way, we're Team UCLA." And this change is obviously like Hamilton, it's an American specific thing originally. As I said, we got the UK production, but I had actually heard the US album before I saw the show. My friend and I listened to it over and over and over before we went and saw the show. And I was never confused about that line, but I do get why they changed it. The one I don't get why they changed is all the changes in positive. These make absolutely no sense. When it came to the UK, the lines were changed from, "Violence is never wise, not the way to win back guys, anyway she's twice my size," to, "What if she's a violent nut? She might stab me in the gut with a stick that's up her butt." I cannot think of one reason why those original lyrics were not acceptable. In fact, I thought the body part to which the second line is referring was called "but" in America, and yet that's the line in the UK. That makes no sense to me. All those three lines, I prefer the US versions. There are a couple of lines that were changed in Find My Way as well. The original line was, "Look how far I have come without anyone holding my hand." And in the UK it was changed to, "Look how far I have come without having to cling to your hand." This is kind of like the My Fair Lady, Why Can't the English one. I don't know if it really needed to be changed, but it's so small and it's really not a change at all, and in that case it doesn't really matter. Though I do prefer anyone holding my hand. And then there's one of Paulette's line in the "Where Are They Now" section. If you've seen the musical, you know what I'm talking about. The line in the US was, "And we live out in Wester," and in the UK it's, "This one's name is Seamus." And I did have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure the Wester we're talking about here is the one in Massachusetts, not the one in England. I mean, Harvard's also in Massachusetts, so that makes perfect sense. And that's a lyric that makes sense that they would change. If there's actually a place in England that's got the same name as the one we're talking about, yes, we don't want anyone to get confused. And in that instance, I actually prefer "This one's name is Seamus." And then there's Ireland. I'm not going to bother telling you all the lines they changed in this song, because they changed more than they kept. It's a completely different song. When I was watching the musical the other week and it got to this song, I was kind of confused, because I didn't remember it at all. I could only remember the UK version. And that's probably because Ireland was never one of my favourites. I didn't listen to the original one too much, so that might be the only reason, but I love the UK version so much more than the US version. I'm really not a fan of the US version at all, but I can definitely say I rather enjoy the UK version of Ireland. I don't know whether this song needed to be changed, let alone changed to the extent that they did. But I can understand why they would want to change it if they were going to the UK. And I'm glad they did, because I really do like the UK version. And the US version, just, I couldn't really care too much. And that's it for all the musicals with changed lyrics I'm going to talk about. Though I am going to make a tiny point about the London Palladium production of The Sound of Music. In that production, they changed one of the lines in No Way to Stop It. And I think this really is a production change rather than a country change. The ITV live version, which is the live version they broadcast from the UK, has the original line, which is, "Why not learn to put your faith and your reliance in an obvious and simple fact of science?" But the London Palladium production says, "What is life about? Why are we here? My answer will be simple, quick and clear." But the London Palladium production also has I Have Confidence. And I Have Confidence does not work on stage. Click the card. And that's everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know, out of all the lyrics I've talked about, which ones do you prefer for the changed versions? And were there any other musicals that had lyric changes that you know about? I'm sure there's plenty more that even I've heard about, but these are just the ones I decided to go with for this video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So long, farewell!